Heavenly Father, we're here gathered to do the work of the authority. Please guide us in our deliberations. We give thanks to you and to our employees who are retiring as well. We give thanks for their years of service to the authority, to the community. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm looking around, I don't see visitors, do I? Oh my goodness, they're so flooding.
Most of these people are home team, so no.
Okay.
So I'll call roll.
Okay.
Catherine D'Angelo,
Here.
Heather Edwards, Daryl Eckhoff. Here. Wilbur James, Willie Jean Johnson,
Here.
Marvin Keenan,
Here.
Joe Lazaro,
Here.
Rob Sheehan,
Here.
Bernard Silverman,
Here.
Randall Wallace, Ivory Wilson.
Yeah.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We're gonna get Mr. Johnson on the line.
Jones.
Jones, I'm sorry.
The driver.
Hi, Ms. Jones?
Yeah, this is him now. He's standing by.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. This is Coast RTA. We appreciate it. Thank you.
So,
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Hi, we just want to make sure you're on the line. Brian's going to be making some presentations, so can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, we have no public comments, so we'll move to employee recognition.
we have quite a bit.
Invert the order a little bit there, have the letter A come at the end.
Right. We have Mr. Lawrence Jones on the line. First of all, Mr. Jones, so sorry that you can't be here today. You've been with Coast RTA for 20 years, and if there was ever an ill word about what you've been doing, what you've done for us, I certainly am not aware of it. You have always been and always will be one of my favorites. Just one of the most dependable, safest, nicest, most cordial drivers that we've had in our history. And I know that you haven't been feeling well. We hope that you get well soon. But we'd like to offer you this plaque that I have in my hand. And it says 20 Years of Service Award, July 16th, 1998 through January 14th, 2019, being awarded to Lawrence Jones in appreciation for 20 years of dedicated service. You have indeed made a difference, Coast RTA. You will be missed, sir. We hope that you can come visit us soon. For those of you who don't remember, I mean, you may remember Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is always on the 7 route. Runs that route. It's always been one of our toughest routes, and he just always did an amazing job. I actually think about my first interaction with him was actually at the scene of an accident. He was on the 7 route, and somebody pulled out in front of him at Robert Grissom. It was like my second or third week of being on the job, and what a wonderful job he did. I mean, there was nothing he could do, but there were really no major injuries, and which was a pretty rough accident. Just the safety record in general was always exemplary, and we are definitely going to miss you, sir.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Jones, I think Pam is going to deliver your plaque to you.
Okay, all right. I got a few words I'd like to say.
Absolutely. We would love to hear them.
Okay. First of all, good morning to you.
Good
Morning.
Morning. Mr. Lawrence Jones. I want to first thank the CEO and his staff and all the board members everybody else for the recognition. And may God bless you all. And thank you at Coach RTA. And I'm going to miss my family. I'm always going to be in touch with you throughout the years as long as God allowed me to be on this fish. And I thank you again. And I love you all.
We love you too, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Jones.
You take care, we'll be in touch, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. So the next person that we'd like to honor is Miss Mary Nesbitt. Will you come on up here? Everything I said about Mr. Jones on the transit side of the house, I can say about Miss Nesbitt on
You said he was your
paratransit.
very favorite person, so you've got to figure out how to put it.
She's up there too. There's never been an ill word about this. Like, come on. She's been on paratransit. Her clients always glowed about her work, and we're certainly going to miss you big time. We'd like to give you this plaque. This says for 18 years of service award, April 26, 2000 through March 31st, 2019, Miss Mary Nesbitt, in appreciation for 18 years of dedicated service. You make the difference, Coast RTA. You take care of yourself. Did you want to say anything? Or?
I just want to tell everybody thank you. And I love working with you. I wish it would be a little longer, but my time is up. Thank you.
Take care of yourself. So next up, to say that this person hasn't been through the wars would be an understatement. I wish I could read it. I should have brought her email that she sent me about when she announced this, but how she loved working here and how she hated working here. If you think about the stress of going through some of those audits that we went through, you think about the stress that we've had on cash requirements. This lady lived and breathed it every day for 10 years, 8 years, 11 years. So come on up here, Kathy.
Seems like longer than that.
Oh, it does seem longer than that. It absolutely does. We got you this little memento. It says 11 years of service. I could have read that at the tops, right? 11 years of service, May 21st, 2007 through April 12th, 2019. Miss Kathy Hennessy, thank you for all your hard work and dedication throughout the years. You will be missed. And so your adventure begins. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, what are you going to do?
I don't know yet.
Good, good.
You're going to go, aren't you going north?
Yeah, I'm gonna go spend some time with my mother. She's not doing well, so.
And you know where that is. I can hear in your
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah. Boston accent, so.
And they have little projects, so I'll keep busy, make it.
Yeah.
You won't forget us, will you?
No. No, I spend too much time here. Too much time.
Now I heard the accent.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's good.
That's your cue, Mr. Wilson.
Okay, our next honoree is going to be a gentleman that has been with us,
Come on over here in front of the sign.
a gentleman that's been with us ever since the company got started. That's Mr. John Glover and Mrs. Glover. Will you please step forward, please?
Thanks.
Did you guys coordinate on the purple?
I think you both both got the email, address email.
Okay, John and Mrs. Glover. I know John couldn't do it without Mrs. Glover, so we're going to celebrate your retirement too. Okay, we have a plaque here for you of John Glover, 35 years of service.
Wow.
35 years. That's half of your life, isn't it? Okay, from July 1983 till March 2019. Thousands of days, hundreds of problems, unlimited projects, endless meetings, everlasting friendship, unforgettable memories, family retirement, and the best has yet to come. Retired March 31, 2019, Coast RTA. John and I go back quite a few years. We were in the military, and we were in Germany in 1978, and I was getting ready to retire. And John and I, we visited each other. Matter of fact, they came to my department from over in Germany, and we had a little party at my place, and we were stomping roaches. And so I told John, I said, I'm getting ready to go back, I'm getting ready to retire, and I'm getting ready to go back home. I had already been home on a 30-day vacation, and I looked around, and I didn't see any transportation for the people working in Myrtle Beach. And so I told John, I said, I'm going back, and I'm going to start some kind of transportation. And when you retire, you come back, and you can get a job. So I came back in 1978 and retired, and actually this company got started in 1980. We got started in 1980, went to court with Greyhound for 3 years. Greyhound thought we were infringing on their benefits, hauling out their people to Myrtle Beach. And when we went through the Public Service Commission to get a license, they told Greyhound, you don't have a leg to stand on. Told us to go ahead and get started. So we decided, Greyhound said they're going to take it to a higher court, so we decided to wait till we get out of court with Greyhound. By that time, John had retired and came back. He and his wife had retired from the military. He retired in 1983, June of 83. And came right here and got a job in July of 1983. So as you see, he's been with us a long time. You've been through all of these problems that you have here. So you can look at these and it remind you of what
in detail
has
on that
happened during your This is a beautiful plaque that was made up by Kath. Who made this up?
The trophy place did it, Michelle and I.
Yeah, okay, beautiful plaque. But they give you memories of what has happened in the last 35 years. And John, you've been with us for a long time, ever since we started. And you stayed with us through thick and thin. Started working but hardly no salary. And got a little better before you retired. So we hope you and your wife have a good retirement. And I think you like to travel. So get out and do some traveling. Plenty out there to see. So we're happy to have you here with us for 35 years. And your wife, she was right by your side. And I don't know what we're going to do when we have a cookout. John was the head of the kitchen. and did a good job. So I hope you and your wife have a beautiful retirement and have that for your years of service.
Mr. Wilson, I thank you. Co-Star RTA board. And especially near the end, finally, our general manager.
Whatever, it's just a thing.
I met one, that was here many years ago. He came here at 28. And we talked for 45 minutes at TAS this week. Some of you might know Robert Smith.
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith, and he says to tell everybody here that he left at 32, but he never forgot Co-Star RTA. And
Just retired from Chicago Transit Authority.
Yes.
Did he go
So-
willingly from here?
Robert Smith was
Did
one
he
of
go
our,
willingly from
Yes.
here? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's in the consulting community.
yeah, he went to, Robert Smith was too good for us at that time. We had to send him on to a better job. But he was a good man.
Had he not left, I wouldn't have met him again Friday, because his career was going to be ruined. He had reached for the stars. Unlike me, I gotta go home.
Oh, come on.
I'm right down the road, about 23 miles.
Right near me.
I'm her neighbor, yes.
Right.
And I'm not gonna leave cold turkey with no benches and everything. Matter of fact, I intend to hang around for at least another month, 3 weeks to a month, to make sure what I was doing is okay.
Great.
So I've enjoyed the ride, and I was like, Miss Mary gone.
Yep, she's right
Yeah,
here.
she's somebody.
A few months ago, somebody was telling her, you need to go home. She says, I'll go when he goes. So you follow me? Okay. Good luck to you, sister.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Co-Star RTA board. Some of you I know, I've known longer than the others. But
You came to my house for the first time when you had to wade through water. Remember? He had to
If I need
wade
to
through
come
water
back
to get to the front door.
if I need to come back for something, I'll come back again. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
John came to the task meeting last week, and task awarded him a Lifetime Achievement Award for 36 years. And then at the rodeo banquet Saturday night, he received the Golden Spatula
Right.
Award from SCDOT for all those times cooking at the state rodeo.
You're
So
grill master.
the Grill Master Award. So
Well, you're on call
we're hoping
for
that we can
right?
maybe bring you back in on contract to keep going on that. But I look at John and I just see all the history that's walking out the door, and I'm glad that he's going to be sticking around a little bit just to help us with transition. But thank you so much, John, for everything.
This would be a place to come when you get tired of it.
Yeah, that's right. She kicked you out of the house. So.
It's time now. And I think I'll take this back. I'll give you flowers.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you, yeah.
Brian, have you got more?
I do have more.
Yeah, Drew. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So, let's see who, is Berta coming?
He's not here yet.
He's not here yet? All right. I just let you all know that we did have 4 drivers compete. They're not here today. We had 4 drivers compete in the rodeo on Saturday. 2 in the cutaway division. Keisha Hemingway and Benicia Julius, 2 of our newer drivers, both performed well. didn't place, but I know they had fun, and you can see how it's kind of weird. They're having fun, but they're also quite serious about it. And then our two 40-foot competitors were Jonathan Brockman and Gary Queen. Gary Queen came off the course thinking how he had let the authority down and was very upset with himself. And I'm like, dude, you did your best, don't worry about it. And he ended up finishing third in the 40-footer. So it's all in the scoring, I guess. But so we competed well. We don't have anybody going to the nationals, but I was really proud of our team, and you know, it was funny hanging out with those folks, and Ron and Michelle and Doug were there. We did a lot of laughing. It was really cool to hang out with drivers and you know, get out of the grind for a little bit. So it was really good. So one last award. I submitted for Making the Difference Award. This is an award I actually was fortunate enough to win in 2017, or 2016, I guess. But I felt like I wanted to recognize the efforts of my management team. And so if you'll indulge me for a minute, I'd like to read this. This was read at the luncheon on Friday at Task, but this was for the 2018 Making the Difference Award from the Transportation Association of South Carolina. I would like to nominate the Coast RTA management team for the 2018 Making the Difference Award. These individuals have worked together to bring Coast RTA to historic levels related to efficiency, reliability, compliance, and community service. These factors have given us a new profile within the community to the point where both of our constituent counties have dedicated road use fee revenues to Coast RTA. The new revenue source effectively doubles the discretionary local funding from previous years and dedicates a revenue source that experiences growth from year to year. The Coast RTA management team has had a direct impact on the way we do business and has improved our reputation as a dependable, reliable, and safe component to the region's transportation infrastructure. Ron Prater, CFO since 2015, has delivered audit reports with no findings or comments for 2 years in a row. The FY 2017 was the first clean audit in the agency's 34-year history. He has successfully updated Coast RTA's financial procedures to become fully compliant with the FTA-directed financial management oversight review in 2016, and FY 14 through FY 18 triennial review and 3 state reviews. Mr. Tom Berta has turned the Coast RTA Maintenance Department into an exemplary program. Maintenance was an area of focus for the FY 17 triennial review due to repeat findings from FY 14, 11, and 08. Not only were there no repeat findings, the FTA found only one small issue with our video camera inspections. The reviewer said that he was blown away, quote unquote, with our procedures and attention to safety. The proof is in the statistics. After a 278% decrease in in-service breakdowns in Mr. Berta's first year, we have had 2 years in a row with less than 45 in-service breakdowns with well over 1.3 million annual service miles. Mr. Doug Harriet has led our operations department since 2015 and has a long list of accomplishments during that time. Most recently, Mr. Harriet's team has successfully implemented a smartphone app with real-time fixed route location information and service announcements. He manages and staffs our new customer service office in Myrtle Beach and is in the process of implementing new paratransit software. Michelle Canty has served as the Coast RTA Public Information Officer since 2014, but her role within the organization stretches well beyond that. In the last year, Ms. Canty successfully administered our SC Works pilot program, set a record for the authority in advertising sales, and enhanced our public information programs through our app, better system maps, and travel training. She has helped improve our relationship with public agencies and private businesses alike while advocating for our customers. So that won the award. Well, that's okay.
Did they win the award?
They won the award.
Wow.
So can we get a picture? So you have an example of the plaque here that they each received. You want to read what it says? That's Tom.
That's my motto. You make the difference. Awarded to Coast RTA management team for your loyal dedication and unwavering commitment. Thank you for your outstanding contributions toward our goals and for making our organization shine.
And they were clue free. They had no idea.
We managed to pull off 2 of those in a couple of months with that Michelle's awards. But they had a lot.
So, thank you all
Thank you.
very much. Doesn't go without being noticed, for sure, so.
You should have that in the Sun News, you should have a picture of it. I mean, that's important.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
we're gonna transition back to our regular meeting.
Well, Brian, before you leave this, who were the drivers hired?
Well, we've already recognized 2 of them. And
yeah.
we're still waiting to see if some are coming back, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, we got a few that are probably gonna come back as part-timers, so we'll get you a list next
Okay.
month.
Yeah, I don't need a list.
Let you know who
Yeah.
is doing it.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes employee recognition.
Great. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. All right, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from the February board meeting?
February meeting.
Second.
All those, any, been moved and seconded that the minutes be approved for February board meeting? Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no.
Thank you, John.
Okay, the motion has passed. We had no meeting, Servers PAC committee report. We're gonna have some updates in the GM's report. So now let's go to the finance committee report.
All right, so long ago. It's a little fresh. So we talked about 3 main items. I think the audit piece of it we started with. Figured we could just push it off until we get a full report. So I don't know if there's anything that we need to talk about at this point or an audit. Kind of wait.
Yeah, but the only other thing is that they're doing the certification for our NTD reporting that relates our chart of accounts to FTA regs. And so we've added that to their work, their efforts. But the audit, even though we thought we'd be able to put it to bed today, is had some delays with the pension numbers. Those are all in now, so we should get a final version here any day. But we can push it to the April meeting to get it accepted by the board.
Okay. Cool. We then followed up with some revenue updates, and just discussing some of the things that may be coming in, particularly from North and Myrtle. So if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we are going to be working with North Myrtle Beach to provide a parking shuttle from June 15th to August 15th. I think there's a couple things that need to happen. A, I need to get a proposal and hammer out an agreement with the city. But before that, we need to chat with the county because this could be construed as well, we have a provision in our contract that we can't expand service until we have our debt resolved. And I don't think anybody in the county is going to disagree with us when we say we need to get our toes in the water, pun intended, in North Myrtle Beach, especially since North Myrtle Beach has agreed to pay at least the O&M cost.
How much?
It's in the
$80?
Well, it's like $90 an hour, so it's in the neighborhood of
Is that gonna cover everything?
$60,000 to $70,000. It's an unburdened number. It's gas, driver, insurance, and maintenance on the vehicle. It doesn't have any admin in it, and that's what we're going to ask for.
There's 2 vehicles from June 15th through August 15th.
Okay, I'm going, tomorrow night, I'm going to a chamber meeting, and I want to announce this. Is it ready to be announced or not?
I would say no. I want to get the blessing from the county.
You
which
could
I'm
say
Are you gonna
confident I
have a
get.
contract with
We're
them?
going to have an agreement, letter agreement with them.
All right, make sure you get that.
I think you could say we're working on it, but I don't want you to get out ahead of the
No, I'm not gonna
county.
do that.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I did that last year, and it fell through.
And the county's been informed. You know, I told them that this is coming up, so we have a meeting with them on Thursday, tomorrow morning, and I'll see what they want us to do as it relates to that, to be allowed to do this. So I don't think there will be any issue. if there is, I'll call you. But that was sort of in the context of, there will be a budget revision coming next week. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be very close to being cost neutral. We're just gonna move some money around. But I'm pretty comfortable now that we can fit some of these capital items that we want to fit, like the two vehicles replacing the internationals, things like that. So that was the context of it. So, and taking into account an additional influx of dollars from North Myrtle Beach.
How many hours during the day are you going to run this?
It's two vehicles, 8 hours a day, so 16, and we haven't talked about how we're gonna if we're gonna put them end to end, or if they need to overlap, or
12 hours is a long time.
16. Two
Two
vehicles,
Oh,
8 hours
so it's
each.
8 hours each.
8 hours
Right,
each.
But some of those hours can overlap.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the length of the run? Have you mapped that out? Is it a couple miles?
Yeah, it's not long. It's
2-3 miles can be.
yeah. I mean, you kind of come in from the elementary school, and then I would imagine we'll hit a couple of entry points.
That's 11th Avenue, that's one of the longest streets they have, it goes down to the, but you're going to, how far, did they tell you how far along Ocean Boulevard? Because that goes all the way up to Cherry Grove.
Yeah, not yet. We haven't discussed that, but when we talked about this before, we're talking about 4 or 5.
So you're
entry
talking about,
points.
if it goes up, it goes the length of, north from, the Ocean Boulevard, that would be like 34 blocks.
Yeah, I don't think we'll go that far.
It's part of their strategic plan to reduce the parking, the odd
Well,
parking.
they're parking in the middle of
Increase access.
on the road there, and everybody who owns those homes, which are wealthy people, are very annoyed about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're, as my understanding, they're eliminating that, and they bought a couple of lots along, and then they're supplementing it with this.
Yeah.
What kind of frequency is it gonna be?
There are not many lots open, I don't know what they bought.
I'm thinking like a 20-minute loop.
No, that'd be good.
But I
something
don't,
like
unless
So
they
it's not
bought,
gonna go
unless they
34
bought,
blocks.
Yeah.
unless they bought lots that are off the boulevard, but I don't think there are any lots left on the boulevard there.
that. Yeah, I think Mike said he had one, but and spent a lot of money on
Oh, yeah, you're talking about millions of dollars.
it. Yes. So I'll, we should have all this sort of hammered out by next meeting.
Okay,
I'll give you an updated service committee in April, and
good, because the chamber has my number and they're calling me every day for something.
so and we'll get up there and start, chatting.
I think that was it as far as
Your money.
revenue. Were there any other revenue items that?
I don't think so. I think we got our next installment of the county money coming in April. I'm expecting it, we have in the budget 515,000, I expect it to be a little higher than that. And then I do need to get with the city about where they are in their budget process for next year. We asked for a pretty healthy increase.
City of Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach.
Yep.
So I guess we can jump into financials with, I guess, a bit of revenue. We talked a little bit about the fare box revenue and the direction that we're going. But we'll start there.
Yeah, and I think the stats show that we have reduced our failures. I think there's still a little bit of work to be done from a staffing perspective on who they're calling and when they're calling and for what issues they're calling as it relates to fare box failures. Obviously there's those 4 components and any one of them can go down at one time. But certainly the number of free trips as it relates to fare box failures went down in February, just going to keep that trend going.
And why did it go down?
Because we're
Their maintenance and-
paying a lot of attention to it and trying to be a little bit quicker on the draw when we're replacing a unit.
Do we ever change cards, the more expensive, harder
I
cards?
don't think we've pulled the trigger on that yet. We do have some sample cards with the better quality cards that we want to wait until it kind of gets more humid before we pull the trigger on that. But I don't see us not doing that. I think it makes sense. I mean, it was like $900 extra for the, I was gonna say for the year, but I think it's for 6 months, so it's $1,800 a year more. I think we go ahead and pull the trigger on that.
The other thing about fare boxes, you really want people to pay, even if it's break even with a new car, it's because unfair to people who don't pay.
Yeah.
People know that, people know that they bought a transfer, but they didn't need it.
I actually got a letter from somebody the other day saying that they didn't feel like they should have had to pay when the bus was more than 20 minutes late, because we did run that, sort of that informal policy and,
Forget it.
yeah, so we've kind of conditioned some folks on this, obviously, we need to get away from that, but, I think we're going in the right direction. And I guess I mentioned in finance that while I think we're gonna start improving on it, I don't know that we'll recover from this $16,000 variance completely. And most of that variance is still the reduction from October when we weren't running service. So, if we get to, 500, I'll be happy.
Brian, do you expect the board to see a budget change, an official formal budget change for 2019? And when are you projecting that that's likely to happen?
We need to do a revision, and it'll be in April, hopefully.
April, okay.
At least the beginnings of it. We may not approve it until May, but if you guys want a couple meetings to kind of mull it over and ask questions, then we can do that.
Okay.
It's not imperative. Like I said, I'm not gonna add, it doesn't look like I'm gonna need to add any money to it.
Mhm.
So, at least from the cost side, so.
All right.
Did we run a shuttle last week for the car show?
We did. I don't know the ridership. We did have some issues. They had us change the route per the city. The police route supposedly gonna be directing traffic that never materialized. And so we had some buses get caught up in some traffic, as a result, and so I texted, Chief Proc to kind of improve the communication on that, so she's been back in touch.
Do we have a policy for people who when the bus stops, they have no money? Or do we just play it by the ear?
With the what?
Who have no money?
When the bus
Yeah.
stops?
When the bus stops for them?
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't know that, I don't have a really good handle of how often that happens.
Yeah, it's not common.
Our drivers are instructed to avoid conflict. If someone's gonna be belligerent about getting on without paying, let them get on, and if that becomes a problem with somebody, then we'll take action.
Yeah, I think you put that sign up there, you're gonna have a whole lot of people with no money.
The,
Right, yeah, that's not something that we,
Yeah, a lot of people
Put it
don't come
right.
out and say, I don't have any money.
right.
the street supervisors at the transfer center also have passes. So I hear from time to time, people just come in and say, I have half fare, I don't have enough for a full fare.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have these one-way passes that they can.
Yeah, I see them giving them out.
But now they limit them because you've got some repeat offenders.
Yeah, they know who they are.
And they know
though.
who they are, so they'll say they don't have any today because
I don't think it's a big
they're
problem.
milking the system.
I think most people who don't have the money won't try to get on,
That's right.
for the most part.
They,
Well,
yes.
Sometimes they
When
just
they might
need to
have
go
a-
somewhere,
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, and then they'll only put partial fare in the fare box and then just don't have the rest. So,
Yeah. I don't see people playing the system. I think, most of the time, I think when they say they have no money, they don't.
right.
Okay.
So the only other part of the other reason why we need the revision is I need to incorporate the expenses related to the bus stop implementation, because we're putting that through expenses. So that's not in the budget on the revenue side.
On either side, either
Right,
revenue or
right.
expense side.
So we need to get that squared away, so.
Yep.
Some of the
How
ones,
much does it cost to put up one of those?
it varies. I'll get you an average. And we've only had one task order and they're not all up yet. Well, let's think about it. That was, $40,000 for 40 signs, so about 1,000 apiece.
No? And that's one like the one out front here?
This stop costs a lot more than that because we did all that landscaping. This was
Yeah.
about
Yeah, I know
$6,500.
just the sign.
So the ones just going up, in the middle, somewhere without any other improvements is obviously a lot less than that. So.
And is that counting the purchase of the signs and the posts, or that's just the labor?
That, no, that's everything in it. Roughly. And it'll vary. I mean, it depends on, it's like the 40 that are in this task order, we've got 14 up. So we're still waiting on, what's the remainder, 26, that SCDOT is weighing in on.
You ever set up ribbon cutting yet? Set up
We
that?
haven't yet, and we've been doing other stuff, but we will,
Right.
we
We're
will set it
kind
up.
of drifting into the general manager's report, I imagine.
A little bit, that's okay.
'Cause I do think we want to hear an update on the sign project.
Okay. So, anything else on financials?
I think everything else looked pretty straightforward.
The only other thing that I brought up was on page 11, looking at some of the stats for paratransit. You will see that our passengers per hour was 1.31, which is a huge increase. Over previous months, this is our first month using the EcoLane software. I will say that our on-time performance took a hit. And our cost per hour was quite heavy, but that's primarily because of all the training and sort of off bus expenses related to ramping up that software, so.
Did the on-time performance take a hit because it's a learning system and it's early in the learning process?
Yeah.
Is that safe to say?
Yeah, and you know, I will say the biggest challenge has been getting the schedulers to do the feedback loop for scheduling issues rather than trying to force the system to do something.
Yeah.
They're trying to change pickup times and things like that. I'm trying to get them away from that and say, look, this particular trip takes 35 minutes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon instead of
Not
25
20.
minutes.
Yeah.
And you gotta tell the system that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a heavy lift, and we're gonna bring them back in for some more on-site training.
Yeah, because if you don't do that, the purpose of the self-learning system is threatened,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, it's compromised. Yep.
Yeah, the only other thing I think we mentioned was, we're still keeping a watchful eye on cash, especially around those, quarterly payments.
Right?
Yeah.
Part of it.
All right. General manager's report.
All right, so we've already talked about North Myrtle Beach. I would like for you all to give me just a consensus vote on me pursuing this with the city. I think the motion ought to have some language in it and making sure that the county is satisfied prior to approaching the city of North Myrtle Beach with an agreement. But if I could just get something in the minutes that says you guys are on board with this, I would appreciate it.
You want to suggest a motion to us?
Just a motion to pursue a contract or an agreement with the city of Myrtle Beach to provide parking shuttle services with North Myrtle Beach to provide parking shuttle services for, it's 2 months.
Pursuant to an agreement to that
I don't
effect
want
from the county.
Yeah, I don't wanna do it, somebody else should do it.
Yeah,
I don't think I should be.
I'll certainly make
He'll do,
that.
he'll do it.
I make a motion to do
What
whatever
you
I second the motion.
Well, and the second part to it should be pursuant to an approval of such a contract
Assuming we can get
with the county.
approval from the county.
All those do we have a second to that?
Second. Bernie said.
Okay.
I don't know, with
Any
everything that's
discussion?
going on in the county, they're not approving anything.
Those-
Nope, no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please
Yeah,
say nay.
it's like years ago,
Any
remember?
abstain?
Years ago it was a farce.
Are you abstaining?
Did you
or are
vote or did
voting?
you abstain
For what?
for
No,
this?
yes, no, I'm voting.
Voting yes.
You're an aye, okay. All right.
Also, to make sure the minutes
So you
were
All
have,
right.
so you
reflecting
have,
appropriately.
you have a consensus on that motion from Randall dictated by Brian. Good luck getting that.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. I got it on tape.
Okay.
Just give you a quick update on task. Had a really good conference. FTA showed up for once. They usually don't show up to our meeting, but so I got to sit down with the administrator, Dr. Taylor. It was a good conversation. We do have some issues with this grant for the 2 buses that are on order. I asked the state to allow me to assign some of our 5339 money and local funds to that grant, and that did not happen. I was a little bit miffed that they're calling me in March to tell me that. I had to get the contract. I got a contract for the money that came out of that discretionary grant that we got, 18 months ago. It's 500,000 in discretionary money and 88,000 in state money.
Was it disapproved, or was it that they just simply didn't act on
It
it?
just didn't act on it. And if they had told me back in August when they were trying to get the grant approved, and then it sat because of the, government shutdown. So we either need to amend that grant, this is the state's grant with FTA, or I'm gonna have to set up my own grant for the portion of it, which is really odd, because if the total purchase price is 900,000, and I got 588 in one grant and the remainder in another grant, it's like I'm buying a bus and a third with one grant and 2/3 of a bus with the other grant. So we have a meeting next week, phone call with the state and FTA to just work that out. So it'll get worked out. I'm not too worried about it. But like I said in the finance committee meeting, I got an FTA week coming up starting Friday. All things FTA. We got some DBE findings straggling left over from that review. We need to update Title VI, even though the FY16 Title VI never got reviewed. We need to update it for FY19. I've got a transit asset management plan that's halfway done that we need to get finished. We got to take care of the internationals, and there's a ton of grants. I got to get the grants for the facility, started at least, and get that into the hopper. So there's a lot going on with that.
Brian, this is just an observation. When you came on as GM, you filled a critical gap in terms of your knowledge of the funding streams that are now helpfully, or hopefully and helpfully keeping us afloat. At some point, it seems that you're gonna have to do some delegation.
Well,
I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but when you talk about grants coming on and need to get to this and need to get to that, it's going to be necessary within your organization to really identify grant responsibilities with someone other than yourself, and
well, just to give you a little bit of a comfort level, Kevin is stepping up. So he's already got my state grants in the hopper. And he's helping me with all things trams.
Okay.
So I feel like we're doing better on that, so.
What about with Kathy leaving? Do you have someone to take over her?
Yes, we have Danny leave as well, so we have one person replacing the two of them.
Who is Danny?
Danny is our staff accountant that was back there as well.
Was he part-time?
This is she.
Oh, it's she?
She started part-time, but she went full-time.
I don't remember.
How long did she work here?
I don't
About a year
remember
and a
her at
half.
all.
She did
Yeah, she
payables
wasn't around
primarily.
that much.
She was just dealing payables, POs and recs, and
So who's doing it now?
it's a woman starts in April, and
Oh, you
I'll
do?
introduce her
Oh,
to
you
you.
do, okay. Oh, that would be good, because.
Well, and as Kevin steps up and takes more of that role on, we should see Kevin doing some presenting of this at this meeting as well.
Okay.
It's the same kind of thing as seeing Ron need to do some of the
Do we want
presenting
Kevin
of the
presenting
financials
anything?
too.
What's that?
Kevin came to last GSAT, so when Rob
Yeah.
couldn't make it until I said, and I talked to him about grants. I think he's on
board.
He's on board.
Working it.
and he knew,
So.
he obviously knew more
And
than I knew.
what the biggest thing he's doing for me is staying on the grantors
keeping
on us.
your
So
timeline.
But in the past, over the last few years, whenever he came to a meeting, and he used to come to meetings all the time, he had answers for us,
Mhm.
more than, other people who were here.
I will get him out of his office and have him, show
I
you
just
guys
think
it.
too, we need to get a recap of those grants as
Right.
part of the integral part of the board package or whatever.
Yeah.
What's existing,
What's coming up?
yeah, the period of performance, the award amount, report deadlines, all that sort of thing. We really need that as part of the board package. It has a serious.
It's really
deficiency.
impossible to understand it and to keep it all in your head. And
Well, yeah, and we got, smattering of people doing just that,
Yeah.
whatever, and it's just,
It's impossible for me to figure it all out.
yeah. It's like, I need to be in that same loop. I mean, if you have those two doing it, then I'm at a disadvantage. So it's like, all of us need to be on the same page. And I think the best way to do it is to get a report out there that recaps
all
We
of that.
need to see
And also
a
for-
transition in board meetings so that those people with primary responsibility, including you and Kevin, have a role at the board meetings as well. Not that we would wish ill will on any GM, but I'm observing that there's too heavy a load right now on Brian's.
Well, yeah, part of it too is we need, some of these things, I think, need just more pairs of eyes, and quite frankly, it's just, it needs to be out there and also proposed, what are we going after? We need to know that too, just so, that ties back to the budget, it ties into a lot of things, so it's a key component of these financial statements that's missing, I think.
Well, it's very easy for a GM to say, well, I'll do it, because ultimately they've got responsibility at the end of the day, but, it's.
Talking in front of my back.
No, not at all.
Yes, sir.
I'm watching your back, actually, wanting to hear a wider range of voices as we get those in.
But
Can I
that
start
is a
talking
good.
about the GM in third person?
Yeah. That is a good way to do it, though, if you had Kevin come in and just, okay, here's a list, here's where we're at, and boom, I think that's not a bad idea, whatever, that puts it out there.
I hear you both.
Yeah.
I hear you both.
Yeah.
Just to finish up task, I've been working on a few things related to funding. And one thing that we've been trying to work on as an association is getting more money out of the state. And I was having sort of informal conversations with the other transit authorities in the state, and the one with Greenville really hit home when I asked them if they got another 500,000 in SMTF or some amount of money in SMTF, which is the state mass transit funds. What would they do with it? Would we transport more people? We're trying to build this case to the state legislature on what we would do
More service.
with additional funding. And he basically said that his city would reduce their amount by the same. You just think about.
So much for visioning.
It's like, so to me, that really hit home that this issue, you all remember I was telling you all about this lawsuit in Columbia over the sales tax, and the use of sales tax for non-capital items, O&M type of operations, which Charleston's been doing since the early 2000s. So I felt like that amicus brief that we were working on with the attorneys is really kind of heightened, because adding more SMTF isn't really moving the needle, as it were. We need something, much broader from a state perspective. And so that has happened. We've got a draft brief, and I got a couple questions from the association back to them before we deliver it to the courts. But that is in motion, and we've been working on that. And then I also got reelected as secretary of the board of directors.
What happens when you do a good job?
I got a text like the day before the election. Are you willing to be
Been out of the
secretary for
room.
one more year? And I texted back, as long as you guys help me with the minutes.
Are you still
really the only-
policy committee chair?
I am still policy committee chair, and that's what this brief has we've been working on. So it's
Those are important leadership roles.
Yeah.
And that's why, in part, why I want to free up a little bit of the stuff that you're carrying on your shoulders so that you can advocate at that level. Because it doesn't sound like Greenville's going to be advocating at that level.
no, which is not good, because it's them and us that are really the next tier of systems. Really them before us, but I think we might pass them, because the way things are going politically there, it's not a good situation for a region that's 550,000. It's almost twice the size of Myrtle Beach, and they have 17 bus pullout. We have 15 bus. So it's not.
Well, and they've got
Right
a
size.
complete circle around their city. We've got an ocean interfering with
Right,
that.
exactly.
So, they've got to be going in all
Which is
different
good and bad,
directions,
but yeah.
360 degrees.
So the brief happened, and I'll keep you up to speed on what's going on with the lawsuit. Certainly the folks at Comment were quite appreciative of us doing that for them, so that was good. Service committee items. We have a meeting with Ride Systems coming up, I believe it's next week, to discuss some of the issues we have with the app, as well as the automatic annunciation system. So I'll have an update for service committee next month on what's happening on that and some of the improvements to get that rolling and get that going. I think it's a combination of we were sort of the guinea pig, I think, on the stop enunciation system for them. But then we also have some implementation issues, so we're gonna be changing the tablets in the buses and hardwiring the communication side of it. We're not gonna use Bluetooth to get to the speakers and things like that, so there'll some improvements coming up on that. I think EcoLane is going as well as anticipated. I think staff has worked very hard to integrate it into our procedures and start using that scheduling. I think the scheduling numbers, the productivity kind of speaks for itself. It'll be interesting to see if it stays on that clip. But one thing I found out in this whole process is that we have not been counting assistants or anybody else riding on the bus with the person that's riding. You can get a personal assistant can ride for free, and it's certainly within our purview to count that as ridership as far as ADA is concerned. But we haven't been counting that ridership. So just for the interest of consistency, that 1301 that we have in February is just clients, it's not any extras. There's another 250, 300 people that were on the bus during the course of the month.
And how would you record that with the driver? Does the driver have a mechanism now to record the assistant?
It's the software that does it. I mean, that's the mechanism at this point. We've been using the fare box.
Yeah.
And the fare boxes, they're only hitting the button for the person to
That's the
pay.
one. Yeah.
And should be putting a free ride in there when there's a personal assistant. Now, if it's just a family member, they're not a personal assistant, then we just charge them $1.50. We just charge them and I think those are getting counted, but.
So will you continue to use the fare box and just hit a free ride?
I think, I think we're gonna go ahead and go to using the full ridership number, but I wanna get you some stats sort of going back.
I think it's very critical, because we report these numbers to the public in public meetings. We have to have source documents that support whatever you're putting down there. That is key, and I'm afraid with John Glover bailing out, we're losing some of that. He was very meticulous about his source documentation. I could walk those numbers into his office, pick one out, any day, any route, and he'd have it. And he'd have notes associated with the whole 9 yards. That is key if we're gonna present this information in public, even if it's ridership. If we're going to make, I don't wanna call them assumptions, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but we have to document them. So if we have extraneous people riding along that we're counting, we need some sort of source documentation we can go back to and prove that number out, no questions asked, because otherwise, we're gonna be out there, or Michelle's gonna be standing up, doing a presentation, we had X amount of riders on this route, and somebody challenges it and comes in and, no, you didn't, you're showing whatever the fare box is showing. Well, this and that, well, that could be a problem.
So there's two things. One, I want them to start counting on the fare box, so that procedure has been changed.
Okay.
As well as I do have documentation coming out of EcoLink. When they got picked up, what time, how many people, where they went, all that information is in the system automatically. So we have the CFO's documentation.
In the years that I've seen you bring up new systems here, the EcoLane seems to have been the most successful initiation. It took us a while to get the apps up and running. It took us a while to, even get the signage stuff up and running. And EcoLane seems to have met its promises.
So far, so good.
Hard,
And I think we still have quite a bit of work to do on the customer service front as it relates to EcoLane. Things are different for them in terms of when their pickups are happening and things like that. And we've had some phone conversations with the users of the system to say, look, bear with us. We're still teaching the system,
Are they teachable people that are you're giving this to? I mean, are they, willing? Because, you get to the point where people become, they're not willing, they don't want to change.
Right. Well, we play that on a case-by-case basis. The customer side of it is, I think when there's a substantial change in the pickup window, which happens from time to time, in EcoLane, that we're not reading the flags that are coming out of the system and picking up the phone and calling them. You know, it's just like if, you know, I was giving you a ride somewhere and I was gonna be 10 minutes late, I call you and say, hey, I'm gonna be 10 minutes
Right,
late.
right.
That part of it we're missing. I think, and then the other part of it is the feedback loop, is like, we've got a trip that takes 35 minutes at this hour of the day, instead of 25 minutes, we need to teach the system that they need to put 35 minutes of travel time in there.
How do you
and
manage
it'll
it?
adjust the schedule.
How do you manage it when it's, say, doctor-specific? I've had so many surgeries at Coastal Orthopedics, I feel like I've endowed a wing there. But they vary greatly in the amount of time that you're actually, I know what your appointment time is, but they can vary by as much as 45 minutes, counting the time that you're getting out. Does the system, is it smart enough to say Coastal Orthopedics runs late? Or-
Well, passengers have to give us a return time on that trip. We try to schedule that. But if they're gonna be late, or they're not getting off the dialysis machine in time,
Yeah.
or those types of things,
So they have to
they can
call.
call us and we take them off the schedule and put them in a will call. And so when
Okay.
they call us, then we put it back in the system and it puts the first vehicle available to them.
Okay.
So it becomes, you know, a more demand responsive
So
type of,
it's a responsibility of the passengers themselves on the return side. I didn't realize that.
Right.
Okay.
So when a passenger gets a text that we're on the way or that we're late, is that automatic or does someone?
That is automatic. If they are set up in the system to receive text, then yes, they get and we've gotten mixed reviews on that and whether or not it's reliable or not. So that's one of the things we need to work with EcoLane on. And we're also gonna give them apps. They can have an app which tells them they can go in there and look at, like Uber, and see where their vehicle
Oh,
is.
that's nice, yeah. that's good.
So that's coming as well.
Well, and one other thing, going back to the signage, with the first 14 signs up on Route 10, what are you hearing from customers or from drivers? Is it better for them? Are they voting it? Are they?
I would say that most people are saying that it's worse right now, and it's because of the greater, the dynamics of when they're getting picked up. You know, we have so many people who are what are called standing orders. They
I'm
go
not talking about fixed route. I'm
on,
talking about the signs on Route 10.
I haven't gotten any feedback on that, have you?
No, I like it though.
You like 'em?
Yeah. I've only been at one of them, but I didn't even know it was there. Someone.
Are they stopping beyond the signs, or are they staying where
Well,
the
the-
signs are, the passengers?
Well, somebody wanted to get off the number 10, and the driver said, "We don't stop here." And then she drove to the sign, and the guy got off. And that's the way it needs to be, really.
Yeah.
No,
Right, that's why you have it there.
Yeah, we haven't fully implemented that yet, so.
Yeah, no, it
we,
takes a while, because people stand where they have been standing for years.
and then the other question on those three for Route 10. We might have to have them actually drive beyond the sign if we're gonna have the 40-footer in the intersection.
Are you getting complaints of people not being picked up in between signs?
I think we're still picking up.
no, we're still picking up, we haven't,
Okay.
we're still doing the flag stop.
But then we sort of educate them, hey,
Here's the stop, it's over there, yeah.
pick up what Michelle just said.
Yeah, well, it has
I don't
to
make
be-
any sense to me.
It's being put in a place where the bus clears the intersection.
Right, it's not anywhere you want to get on.
She's talking about a stop on 21st Avenue
And
by
the
the
curve
baseball
at
park.
Seaboard.
We were going past, no, we're talking about Gresham.
Yeah, but we've got two that are in question.
Yeah, no, they are set that they will not be impeding the intersection.
Yeah, that's why
Doesn't look like it maybe on the map, but there's 40 feet there or more.
Mhm.
Well, it's probably too early to give an update on the signage project in terms of its implementation, but, you know, sometime April, May, or June, we should.
We're still, we got sort of conditional approval from SCDOT on everything but the stop on US 501. We've got, which is on Route 10 there at the intersection with Seaboard. They hate that stop.
That's the return.
That's coming back on the loop. So we just put that aside for now and say, give us approval on the rest of them, which is Oak Street, 21st Avenue, Highway 15, all have been conditionally approved. So we're trying to get an agreement in place that says that we're responsible for the maintenance of these signs. Once that's signed, they'll give us the permit and we'll go.
How about a shelter by the Home Depot with a trash can and whatnot. Is that something that?
Yeah, that's a city, that's on the city's docket. I'm not sure, you know, we had some turnover at the city, but I'll bring that up with them next time I chat with them. They were waiting on a sidewalk project.
Well, that's good.
The 105 are they looking for a cutout of
Well,
the,
they,
go off the road or something?
the consultant made a mistake of bringing me to the meeting, because this guy's saying sight distance, I'm like, it's a 30-second sight distance
It's
issue.
not even safe to drive on 501, let alone stop.
Well, there's, you know, they're worried about the level of traffic there. And I'm like, look, we've been doing it for 30 years, at least a sign
Right.
would give the driver some expectation that a bus could stop there. You know, and it's already a level of service F in this intersection, we're certainly not contributing to that problem. But it's traffic engineers, and they, you know, don't wanna, they perceive giving that permit as them, you know, possibly getting put on the witness stand if there's ever a rear end at it, you know. So our guidelines clearly state 45 miles an hour or less, we stop on the street and do the sign. So we're working with our brethren in Columbia and Carter to show us examples of it where other districts have approved the
So
stop.
if you get hit, you can always say, well, they gave us permission to stop there.
Anything else on the manager's report?
We have some public meetings coming up for Bucksport and Loris. Do we have locations?
I have nothing for Loris, because no one's got me a map.
Yeah, we don't, what, do you have locations for the meetings?
Not until, I can't schedule the meeting until I get the information so I can have it printed. So Loris is still.
We're still working on those
Yeah.
meetings.
We do have that
Bucksport's
Monday
are
and
scheduled?
Tuesday, 8th and 9th.
And
of
what are we
April.
changing that we need a meeting for?
Well, we're converting these to permanent routes. They're no longer be pilot program. And we're gonna be changing the style of operating to a route deviation.
And you're gonna be going into Bucksport.
And we may go into Bucksport. I wanna hear from the public.
And
on that.
how are we paying for these? Are
Well,
they
they're just-
giving us any money?
Fairly fair.
Rolling into our budget.
April 8 and 9?
So we got-
So we're paying for it.
Horry County's paying for
The
it.
So we're
8th,
paying for it.
we'd already scheduled it before they came out on the time for the transportation committee. It's at 3 o'clock at the Bucksport Library, and then the one on the 9th is at 6:30 at the Bucksport Community Center, because by then the route should have delivered the residents who are riding to that. They get there about 6:30, so that's the reason we're putting the meeting till 6:30, before they walk home.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I've been down 701 30 times in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And as a consequence, tie rods in the front end of the car and all the tires had to be replaced as a result of the potholes along the way there. It's a very expensive road. I've shifted over to going to 17 because
Sometimes you wonder about what SOC, you know, the only way to get into, from where I live in Little River Long, is come at 905. Do you know what they're doing on 905 this morning? They're paving half of it. They're paving
John
the
got
side.
that too.
That's the way I came.
Yeah, and you're waiting in line, and there must have been 40 cars in front of me, because that's the only way you can get into Conway now, from where we are.
yeah, it's difficult times on the road.
Crazy, huh? You would think they would wait until the bridge opened before they did that.
Anything else, sir?
So the only other thing is we do need to schedule a bylaws meeting. We have some updated language in that. But I didn't have time to look at it. It probably didn't make sense to bring that to full board. Let's get the bylaws committee together to, you know, and I can just send them out if you want. You guys can review them.
We did, we already got the
They got
draft.
sent out 2 nights ago.
Oh, it did?
We got out and we looked it over. I told her it was fine with me. You had a problem with something on there,
Page number.
the numbers,
That's all.
and.
I was fine with it.
In the
So I didn't get-
bylaws,
I don't
just
think
let
I
me
was
know
copied on that.
with your report here, what are we doing with these, with Article 7K, Annual Development Administrative Board Approved Compensation Plan, wage schedule? Did we put that off, but
Yeah.
is it gonna come up soon?
I'll have it for you with the
No, I'm
budget.
not pushing you, I
with the
just
budget.
wanna know what we did, because I don't remember
Yeah.
what we did.
I'll have that for you with the budget revision. And it's
The
just gonna be
April
a,
meeting.
yeah, we'll have that come out next month.
Okay, all right.
So we'll deal with that at the April meeting.
Yes,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay. Good general manager's report. Any old business?
You mentioned you want to do something with the bylaws, is that
That's all business.
good?
Well, are we gonna do bylaws?
Yeah, why not? Because it came out to everybody, they were supposed to look at it. No?
Brian
I
hasn't
haven't
looked
seen
at
it.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I-
Oh, okay.
I don't know that I was copied on that, to be honest with you. So let me look at it and then we'll address
Let's
it.
postpone it to
Next
the
week-
April
next
board
meeting.
meeting,
Okay.
because we're all in understanding as to the scheduled timeline change. that is long
That's not
enough
an
know
issue,
what's
yeah.
going on, yeah. All right, we'll do that at the April meeting. Any other old business?
Brian, if, I'm not gonna plan on going to the transportation committee, but if you need me, because of this, because no one's there with you, or because you wanna talk about this, resurface, then let me know.
Is that where you would,
Well,
I'm
a
gonna ask,
possibility,
I'm gonna ask staff tomorrow how they want me to proceed.
yeah.
I'll meet them in the morning, and then we'll go from there. So if that means getting something on the agenda for the transportation committee, so be it, and I'll
or
let you guys
that,
know.
or you gonna go there or the county? That's what I'm asking. Because the county's having all
Yes.
kinds of problems. I wouldn't want them to go throw us in with their
Yeah, we gotta-
problems.
Yeah, right now, we're not on the agenda for the next transportation committee meeting. I
Okay.
think,
But if you
You
are
already
there,
talked about
I think it should
going.
either be Daryl or myself that goes with
yeah,
it.
we'll go to be there.
No disrespect to that, Bertie, but I think we've got to get.
Yeah, good.
And so we'll be there for that meeting. The meeting was about 12 minutes last time.
Good.
So,
Let's hear what the staff have
How
to
is
say.
but I meet with staff tomorrow and I'll bring this up
Well,
with them.
who's the staff you meet with, like Justin?
Justin and Courtney Kane and Barry Spivey.
How's the new chairman
I
Well,
think it depends on who you ask.
yeah, it's all over the newspapers, I guess.
All
doing?
right.
No, I don't mean that one. I mean of
Oh,
the
Mr. Prince?
transportation.
Let's
Oh,
let's
yeah.
keep that response.
Yeah, it was a
off
15-minute
there.
meeting, so it's hard to tell.
Okay.
Okay. Any announcements, Brian?
I don't think so.
I know Bernie, Mr. Silverman heard that we have a surprise fish fry for John Glover at 3 o'clock on Sunday. It will be out back, so if
Okay.
any of you are available to come wish him well. It's just a surprise, so please don't say anything if you see him again. So,
Fish fry at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock
Sunday.
here. Yep.
How you gonna make that a surprise to John?
Yeah, how you gonna
Is
get
he
it?
gonna sure fry the fish?
Hey, I kept the golden spatula and some other things as surprise, so.
Just the background on that, he likes to go to lunch down in Shelley's.
Oh,
So that's what we felt like was the most appropriate thing. At least four times a week he's lunching at Shelley's, so we're gonna have some fried fish for him.
is that a fish place? I love fish.
Yes.
It's right down here.
Yeah, it's right down here in the
I
corner.
love fish, and I never get good fish where I live.
So you're gonna have it outside?
We're gonna have it out back
What
on
if
the
it's
pad.
cold like today? I mean,
Not
It's supposed to
gonna-
warm
it's
up
gonna be
this
warm.
week.
We'll do it in here
Oh, it's
then.
supposed to be
You
warm,
know,
it's
you
supposed
know
to be
what,
warm
it's
this
warm up.
weekend.
It's gonna be warm.
It's supposed to be warm
Three in
this
the
weekend.
afternoon, so.
Just flip a coin.
We ordered
It'll be
one.
cold or warm.
Yeah.
Just wear your earmuffs.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved. Move adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.